Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all you wonderful audiences who are tuning in from, I'm sure, various parts of the world, various parts in India, Africa, and other places. Very quickly in the chat window, if you could let us know which city are you dialing in from. I'm dialing in from Mumbai and I have folks here who've joined us all the way from the US. So if you could let us know in the chat window which city you are dialing in from, that would be great. So we have someone from Pakistan. Hi, Saida. We have someone from Nepal, Aditya from New Delhi. If I could keep those interactions going, Zoya, who's joined in from Malaysia, someone else from Delhi, great. Oh, someone from Germany, Gujarat, Mumbai, Nasik. So quite a few of you I see from various different places that are tuning in. We are close to 100 audiences and more which are coming in. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're coming in from. I'm sure you're all excited about this masterclass. And the topic is, of course, the AI Finance Masterclass, Innovation, Risk, and Opportunity. So, what are we going to be talking about in this masterclass is we are going to discover how machine learning and generic systems are reshaping markets, strategies, and the future of financial decision making. I know that's a super exciting topic for all of you. I, for one, am definitely excited to know more about this, and I'm sure so are all of you. We're close to 113. I'm going to wait for a few more students to sort of tune in. And while you all are tuning in, do continue to let us know in the chat window which city are you dialing in from. Today's masterclass, for those of you who have just tuned in, is brought to you by John Hopkins Carey Business School, located in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. They offer full time and part time, as well as online MS degree programs and MBA programs. And something that they always believe in is they learn by doing. And of course, that's such a wonderful thought. I'm sure all of you are super excited to not only know more about this masterclass, but also to know more about what this business school has to offer you. Great. Before I sort of move forward, I'm going to do a quick round of introduction to the panel that is here today. I'll start with myself. My name is Sabahat Herzog. I'm a senior associate director with Seed Global Education. We're a UK headquartered company which facilitates interactions between top global universities like the one that we have with us here today and prospective students like yourself, giving you a chance to connect with the faculty and admissions people from these institutes, give you a taste of the programs being offered, what the classroom is going to be like, and also, of course, help you make more informed decisions about your higher education and career plans, of course. Uh, with me on the panel today is Dr. Sudeep Gupta. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us. He's a professor of practice in finance. His current research and teaching interests are in the areas of artificial intelligence, machine learning, auctions, ESG, healthcare, fintech, all the buzzwords in today's world. He is an award winning teacher, and his research has appeared in top academic journals as well as he's received a lot of awards. But of course, when Dr. Gupta comes on to present, I will wait for him to give a more detailed introduction about himself. Along with Dr. Gupta, we also have Jen. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Jen is the Director of Recruitment for full-time programs at the John Hopkins Carey Business School. In her role, she oversees the team working with prospective students like yourself for the full-time MBA and dual degree program, along with the specialized master's programs that they offer. So she is your go-to person. For all those of you who are looking to apply to John Hopkins, Jen is your person. You need to connect with her and get more details. I'm sure you all are waiting to start hearing more about the masterclass. But before that, I'm going to quickly run my first poll question for the evening today. On the screen in front of you is the first poll question for the evening. If all of you could look at the screens and let us know, how familiar are you with the use of AI and machine learning in finance? Are you someone who's extremely familiar? You've used it, or do you study it on a regular basis? Are you someone who's somewhat familiar? You've read about it, heard about the about the applications? Are you a little familiar? You know the basics, but want to know more? Are you someone who's completely brand new to it and have joined the masterclass today because you want to learn more about it? The best part is no answer is right or wrong. We just want to know where you're at in your journey about understanding finance, AI, and machine learning. So, very quickly, to all close to 240 of you in the room, if you could go and cast your votes and let us know how familiar are you with the use of AI and machine learning in finance today? I'm going to wait a couple more seconds for all of you to drop your questions. To all those of you who've put in which city you've dialed in from, thank you so much to all you lovely people once again. I am sure you are going to make the most of this session, get a lot of learnings out of this. With that, I'm going to end the poll question and publish the results on the screen in front of everyone. So around 34% of the audience today is completely brand new to the subject. They want to learn more about it. Some of them are a little familiar with it, and the others have used it in some capacity or the other. So, thank you so much for participating in my poll. Dr. Gupta, with that, over to you.
Thank you, Sabahat. Welcome, everybody. I know it's evening or afternoon at many other places, and it's good morning here. So I'll first share my screen, and then that should take me to a brief introduction about me. I hope everybody can see the screen. If not, just let me know. So I'm going to talk about
Yeah,
the AI
we
for
can see your
Finance
screen,
Masterclass.
Dr. Gupta. You can go
Yeah.
ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sabahat. I'm a professor of finance at Johns Hopkins University. And before that, I was the director of the Quant Finance program, which I took it to be one of the top 10 in the world. And thank you, Sabahat, for telling a lot of the awards that I had received. And I'm also a fellow for the Center for Responsible AI at IIT Chennai Computer Science Department, because I see many of Indians who are out there. I have a MS and PhD in economics from Wisconsin-Madison. I saw someone from Kamla Nagar there. So I'm actually also from the Delhi School of Economics, which is just next door to Kamla Nagar. And then I've been a professor at NYU Stern, Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. But two important things I think many of you could resonate well. I was one of the first resident faculty of ISB, Indian School of Business, and BITSUM. I'm one of the founding faculty for BITS School of Management in Mumbai. So these are the business schools which I still have a strong association with, as well as we get a lot of students who come from there over here potentially. So my research has been in the areas of artificial intelligence and fintech of late. I did work on the treasury market and the credit default swaps derivatives market and valuations, and I have been teaching for AI for finance for some time. I actually one of the first who brought in the MSQF program AI in 2017, first time, and then many people actually did to say that, well, is it going to last? And then I said, no, this time it is for real. And we'll tell a little bit about that, why we believe this is real this time. I have been an expert in various financial class action litigations because of my AI and other skills. Many of you are, you are prospective students for Johns Hopkins. And we actually started, and I was one of the instrumental person behind this, to a student managed investment fund about 2 years ago. And it is actually doing pretty well. It's beating the market for last 2 years continuously. And we are very proud that it's completely managed by the students. Of course, we are there to oversee and give the guidance, but that kind of works pretty well. Now let's get to today's topic first. I'm going to borrow from the NVIDIA GTC 2023 because I saw many of you are new to AI in finance. So I'll borrow this video from NVIDIA and play it out. If you cannot hear the sound, let me know.
I am a translator, transforming text into creative discovery. Movement into animation. And direction into action. I am a healer, exploring the building blocks that make us unique. modeling new threats before they happen, and searching for the cures to keep them at bay. I am a visionary, generating new medical miracles and giving us a new perspective on our sun to keep us safe here on Earth. I am a navigator, discovering a unique moment in a sea of content.
We are announcing the next generation.
And the perfect setting for any story. I am a creator, building 3D experiences from snapshots and adding new levels of reality to our virtual selves. I am a helper, bringing brainstorms to life, sharing the wisdom of a million programmers, and turning ideas into virtual worlds.
Build Northern Forest.
I even helped write the script. Breathed life into the words and composed the melody. I am AI, brought to life.
So that hopefully gave you a brief. It's a very nice video. I really like that from NVIDIA's part. And while doing this, given the type of backgrounds many of you have, you may have the following questions in mind. What does AI really mean? Am I being left out in AI? That's one of the concern many of you may have. I would have had if I was at this point of time. And how is AI going to impact my job and career? And that's where we at Hopkins come in with that kind of a program that we offer. But I'll start with the first question in defining what AI is. So there is a group of, this is a nice picture which kind of says what are the different stages of AI potentially has been through. So there is a sub part of the AI which is more stochastic in nature. That's called the machine learning part. And then was very specific subpart of the machine learning algorithms are called deep learning. And then a very specific group of deep learning algorithms are the current chat GPT, which is otherwise also called the generative AI or other large language models that whether it's Grok, whether it is Gemini and or Llama, any other model that you're potentially using. And of course, in terms of the data usage, AI kind of uses the models for various different types of data like text, image, audio, video, and so on and so forth. So the main idea of machine learning, so you can see that machine learning is basically the superset of the current generative AI models that you know about. The idea is to teach the machines to learn patterns in the data. So that's the basic fundamental premise of doing any machine learning. And the deep learning uses much more advanced techniques to again learn the patterns. And then at the end of the day, learning the patterns, it tries to predict something. So you'd like to predict whether it's what's going to be the stock return going to be, or whether someone is more likely to have potentially cancer down the line in the healthcare, or anything else. And of course, the large language model predicts. That's where it started from. That what's going to be the new word or next sentence going to be given a particular part of the word or part of the sentence, and then it builds onto that, and the result of that is your large language model, whatever your favorite one is, Llama or ChatGPT or Mistral, they are. Now, since many of you are from India, so this is kind of related to what your questions related to the job could be. And this is many of you probably, even if you're not from India, those who heard about the word Tata is one of the major producer of automobiles, but also they actually has one of the largest software firm in the world called Tata Consulting. And the head of the conglomerate, Chandrasekharan, said Gen AI to be India's next job creator, and it's going to create the job by boosting productivity. You'd be able to do more mundane stuff with AI so that you can concentrate more on your and hone your skills on the more productive part and use yourself for more productive work. And that's how you bring yourself out to the market to harness the power of AI to improve the productivity. So that could be the question that might be out there. I'm going to, before I give you some examples of how we actually potentially do that, and especially all my examples going to be from finance perspective and more advanced applications of AI in finance, what's happening in the real world. I'll first start with kind of a history of AI. So although we are kind of many of us are thinking that AI is a new thing. AI has been out there for some time. So the basic machine learning algorithms on which the AI was built was actually known since the 60s. And we had seen quite a few boom and the winter of the AI over time. In the 60s, we had the first set of algorithms. Then we had the expert systems. In the 70s, we had the winter. Then another in 90s and 2000s, we had the winter, AI winter. And suddenly now we are seeing another big boom right now. So you might be asking right now that, well, if it is a business cycle kind of an approach that we have been seeing for AI, then is it going to persist? What if another winter comes in? And in which case, we may not actually need to educate ourselves as much in AI. So how much guarantee do we have that AI is potentially going to sustain? So what's different this time than the previous boom periods? That's going to make things very different. Uh, so here, when I try to address that, I kind of give one example, an analogy that think about a marathon runner. If you're a marathon runner, you need definitely good skills, which means think about those skills are those algorithms, the machine learning algorithms, which the AI has. But also at the same point of time, you need good muscles, as well as you need the blood circulating through from your muscles to the heart, and the heart pumping fast enough so that you do not get fatigued. So if I want to think about that, so what could be the muscles if the algorithms are the techniques? What could be the muscles and the blood for AI? And so there are three things. So advances in algorithm are those techniques, but the three things that's two other important things that's very different this time, which is the advances in computing hardware, which is very different than it was before, and the advances in big data. And I'm going to use the analogy that your computing hardware is more like your muscle, and your big data is the type of the oil or the blood that you need to make those muscles really work faster. So that's what potentially makes AI really doing better and sustain its power, what we are seeing right now. Just to give an idea, when I wrote my first machine learning AI reinforcement learning paper in during my second year of my PhD, and then my advisor told me, it's too early. Because you really cannot compute those things as much as you need for practical use. And of course, I shelved that idea at that point of time and then came back to it later because now we have. I'm glad that I started working on it long enough. We now have the computing power. And just to idea that what we need to run those kind of computing power for the data is that just in 2019, the GPT-2 had about 1 GB storage data on which it was trained. Our ChatGPT 4 already had 45 terabytes of data. And then we have the clouds and the computing power, which kind of is out there to do the most of the mundane works. And then, of course, the new techniques also got improved. So we have the transformer model on which came out in 2016, 17, on which your large language model or ChatGPT based. Those kinds of advancements of the algorithms also made this more use of this the amount of data we have. and improve the performance. And here, when we talk about the performance of the AI model, looking at the pattern, understanding the pattern, and looking at the prediction performance of that, how accurate those predictions turn out to be, and fitting more data with better algorithms and higher computing power makes it really, really great. So I'm not going to talk more about this, but I'll refer you all to Stanford University report about the state of AI. This is 2024. There is a new one which came out in 2025, which kind of talks about various different types of algorithms which are out there and their performance and the cost. And if you look at this cost number, for example, that cost of this running this training of these large language models was really, really very high. And if you look at the 25 report, that cost has really started going down, which means we are actually advancing much faster and would be able to process even more data going forward. So I strongly encourage you to take a look at this, and these are the reasons why of some of the performances across. Most recently, this is an interesting, the performance of the AI in predicting. So AI has been doing very well in predicting images, for example, telling a cat from a dog's image, and what's the difference between that, and this is the human behavior. So we kind of have been doing this pretty well, but off late, for example, this is the math. This is 2021, 2022. The performance of AI models to do really hard math is really has gone very, very up. And 2025, we heard that they participated in the Math Olympiad too. At the same point of time, we have lots of concerns about some of the AI issues that maybe there is some kind of a bias that's potentially out there with AI, and that's why there are some regulations that's coming up, as well as the idea of responsible AI usage is also a very important concerns. And so far, whatever I've been speaking is across the field. It's not necessarily sticking to finance, but across various different fields, whether it's healthcare or whether it's any other field which uses the AI. Now, if I move on to more US usage of AI in finance. Of course, many of you may have heard that, well, it is probably I can use the large language model and then I can generate a chatbot or an agent, AI agent, which is going to do most of the stuff for us. For example, this is some of the examples which you can get this from the Capital One Bank, or this is from, I think, one of the IPAL, which is, I think, for the ICICI Bank in India, which probably is using in the background some of the AIs to address and answer your questions and finding out patterns and finding solutions for you. So of course, these are the mundane use of the AIs to some extent. These are still, it improves productivity. But AI in finance is actually goes much beyond the chatbots. And here I'm going to bring some of the ideas from that, from some of my own research, as well as research from other people in this area of what's happening in the forefront of AI. And if you come to Hopkins, I teach a class, and I was teaching, for example, right now, yesterday I taught it called AI for Finance, and for the MS finance students. And this is where we kind of teach those frontiers, which kind of helps them to get into place into top hedge funds or banks and other top financial institutions all over the world. So let's dive more deeper to those type of models. But before we dive deeper more to those type of models, we first have to understand how standard AI is different in other fields than in finance. So what's different in finance, which kind of could make where you not only just your AI, and again, I'm relating this to your potential question, is AI going to take your job? In finance. And my answer to that would be, which I also said to my current group of students, that just using a blind AI model of the current AI models to finance problems is not actually going to work. And I'm going to tell you why. You need your finance skills, and integrating these two together is where you are really going to make a big difference. And that's where an education like Hopkins is going to so crucial towards that extent. And I'm going to make that point clear with a couple of examples. So let's go back to the examples of predicting images. So why AI is really great in predicting images, tell a cat from a cat, or from a picture of various cats and dogs, and so on and so forth. And why that prediction pattern, the raw models which are so good for other things, is really not going to work much in finance. The reason for that is the finance data on which you're going to train everything is mostly having low signal to noise ratio. For AI models to really work, you need high signal. So what do I mean by signal? Signal is like if you are if you look at a picture of a cat across various different other pictures, what is the cat's image in that picture, and what everything else in that picture are the noise. So in most of the cases, in the cat's picture, you can really see that there is very high signal of a cat or a dog related to the finance. So just to give you an example, and many of you are familiar probably with this picture. This is a famous Indian actress, and this she's holding a dog, and this is the same dog in this picture too, in a different picture. So if you look at these two different pictures of the dogs and you ask the AI to identify based on training, you can see that this is the signal, which is the dog, and this is the noise. In this case, this is the chair. And this is the signal of the dog, and that's the noise of somebody else, and so many other parts of in the picture. Now, if you look at a picture of a dog or part of the picture of a dog or a pixel of a dog, the nose of a dog does not change. It could be the front face of the nose or the side face of the nose or the ear, front or the side, and so on and so forth. Which means if you train, so there is very high signal of a dog in part of the picture, uh, than the part of the noise. So if you train it on like millions of such pictures, AI models are going to be really very accurate on saying that, well, this is the dog and this is not a dog, right? So that's the advantage of the AI in other areas. But in finance, most of the time, we have a very low signal to noise ratio. I'll just give you an example. This is the S&P 500 return data over time. And you can virtually cannot identify one period different from the other in terms of it looks like there is too, relatively speaking, a lot more noise than what the potential signal is. And again, think about why am I looking at the return data? Because at the end of the day, one of the big finance question is, can I predict tomorrow's return of a particular stock? Then based on that, I would like to buy the stock or sell the stock today. So if there is too much noise, you won't be able to find a pattern that, well, if this happens today, means tomorrow's stock is going to be higher, or if this happens today, tomorrow's stock going to be lower. Unless you can predict that pattern, you won't be able to get that. And here there is too much noise. Now, why does finance has so much noise in the data? The reason is that financial market, before you actually get the data from the signal, a lot of participants interact with that signal. So think about, you have a particular stock, say Apple, and you got a very good signal about Apple. Before you don't get, nobody get to see the signal. We only train AI models on the actual data, which is the stock price of Apple. Now, the stock price of Apple from the signal there are so many intelligent agents who trade on all these things, which means all the signal that is potentially going to predict whether Apple price is going to go up or not is already incorporated and taken away. So what you are left are various different types of noise like what's the level of inventory of different participants are, what the level of is someone has a longer horizon, someone has a shorter horizon, which are all these are unrelated to the signal of whether Apple is good or not. So markets are fairly efficient, and what you get to see in finance is not the signal, but a very high amount of noise in the data. So that makes the finance very different. So you have to understand that, well, if I see this kind of a noise with this kind of a data, how should I modify the AI models to make these things work? And that's where you need to understand how I could potentially use the AI in conjunction with my finance knowledge together in the right program. So just using AI models blindly will not work. The other reasons is, of course, there is high levels of noise, as well as many AI models assumes things are independent over time. If you have different data points, they're independent over time. But in finance, there is a huge amount of dependency. So what's happening today is going to affect tomorrow. The other reason that finance data is really important and different from others is that there is a non-stationarity. And I'll tell you what non-stationarity is in a nutshell is that if we look at the price, this is the S&P 500 price, and you can see that the same price behaved very differently here than over here, right? Means the distribution of the prices are different over time. It keeps on changing the prices. So if I use this part of the AI data to predict, I'm going to get an average and volatility somewhere over here. And if I use this part of the AI data to train to predict, I'm going to get something over here, which means using the same series of S&P 500, what data I'm using is really going to make things very different. And the non-stationarity, this is called non-stationarity, means the distribution is not stationary, it keeps changing. The average of these data points is not stationary, it changes from here to here. The volatility of this data series is not stationary. So you have to understand what's affecting those volatility, how does the financial market really works. Then you bring in the AI model together to come up with the right set of predictions that you would like. So just to give another probably funny example, if you look at this, and if you think that your prediction variable that you want to suppose predict the red line, and suppose X is your, or the variables you use to predict is your black line, you might think that your black line, whatever variable that is, really predicts your Y because they kind of move together, right? But if I tell you that this is actually the real data, and the red line was people who drowned after falling out of a fishing boat, and the black line is marriage rate in Kentucky, it kind of says that, well, if you get married in Kentucky, you're going to get drowned after falling out of a fishing boat. Which means the bottom line is that if you do not know how does the market work, you are going to get this kind of a spurious relationship. And hence your AI model, which otherwise is going to predict really very well on your training data, or the past data is not going to work in real time that well in finance. And this is where combining them with your AI ideas are so important. So I'm going to skip a few things. There are various different types of finance data. One is which are numeric, one which are in text. So this is one such examples which are text data from newspaper articles or company reports. So there are different types of data, structured data and unstructured data that you could potentially use to predict what's going to happen in the future. And the idea is that you take in this case, this is a structured data, numeric data. You take this, put this in an AI model, and then you predict what, for example, what's the price of a house going to be. It could be an unstructured data like a signal or a text, which you tokenize using various different techniques in machine learning and make it numeric, put it through an algorithm, and then you predict what's going to be the output. Is it a good prediction or is it a bad prediction? It's a positive or negative. 98% chance it's a negative prediction. So this is the different ways you could potentially do. There are some research, and first I'm going to put this up in my own research. So this is the various research I use using alternative. I'll try to spend a few minutes just to talk on each of them and stop there. So these are the different types of work we have done for some time. I've been working on this. For example, here I'm using the large language model to estimate novel risk. Like what's the risk of a this year? This is very important. How do I estimate the geopolitical risk or ESG type of a risk using large language model? And does that really impact the stock prices? So it turns out it does. So what's the impact of using AI to get an alternative credit scoring? This is where a lot of the fintech companies are now using this kind of an algorithm. And how can I use various big data techniques and AI in fintech? So this is some of my colleagues from ISP and I worked on this. Then how do I use the company level data, corporate data, and then see whether it actually affects what kind of information in the stock prices? And then how do I do a responsible AI and remove the algorithmic bias? So these are just glimpses of some. I'll probably give one pager on this alternative data and credit rating over here. So this is actually most of the data came from India. The idea was that, well, your credit scoring is not that good. because most of the people are actually do not have a high score because they do not have higher credit history. So that's one of the reasons they have a lower score. That does not mean that their credit risk, whether they should get a loan or not, is low. They probably are still credit worthy. The idea is that can we use various digital data or alternative data like your cell phone usage and so on and so forth, and give it a new credit score for every individual and predict the credit risk better. And it turns out the alternative data have higher relatively credit score, predictive power. This paper is in public domain. You can take a look. So it can actually give 10% more people credit who were otherwise denied despite having high credit worthiness. Deep digital variables like social media data, network, and types of app usage on their phone has very high predictive power related to deep financial variables like credit reports and spending patterns. And then, so of course, this is the prediction counterfactual that if you use the relatively conservative threshold, we can give more loans to people than and at a lower cost. So it is a win-win situation for both the lender and the borrower. And borrower from low financial penetrated area would have benefited more. So this is a very unique paper which kind of got lots of attention. Lots of regulatory authorities kind of uses this as well as financial institutions where you are actually using AI because now you have a big data and AI algorithm with the right way to model this to predict the alternative credit score. So I'm going to skip the numbers here in the interest of time. The other example I do want to talk about is the nowcasting with alternative data. So here the example is, can I predict what's going to happen to the US GDP in next week or GDP of any country? And here you can see that this is the nowcasting model. So New York Fed does that with not a AI model, but a regular model with traditional data. And my model, which I used the alternative data and the AI, turned out to be a much better predictor. And just to give you an idea of what are the alternative type of data are, and this is what I referred to before, is the big oil that's out there. The big data is the oil of everything. So it's the credit and debit card transaction at the zip code level. So that's a different types of data. Textual information from so many news articles, unstructured data, that's a big data. App usage. So even if I do not know, for example, think about a company's earnings report comes out, tells how much the earning they had made in the last quarter. But when it comes out, it's in every quarter, it's a stale information. Before that, I or there are various data vendors actually knows and collects the app usage data. Think about you have a Nike app, you find out how many people visited that app every day, how many people made purchases through that, which kind of gives you an idea that what was the overall sales of, for example, Nike going to be. The satellite data, I can take pictures of the parking lot of various malls and then see that, well, if there are lots of cars in that parking lot, it's more likely they came to spend money and buy. And hence, well, for example, if it is Macy's, their sales probably is higher if there are lots of cars in the parking lot in the last 2, 3 months. And then, of course, there are lots of social media information at the ticker level. There are information in the US on LinkedIn and Glassdoor on the job satisfaction, CEO rating, and so on and so forth. All these are types of data which were previously not available. So AI is really great in harnessing that data. And here are some of the information that you saw. Just to give you an idea that when this was the period during COVID, note that we many of us had no idea that most of the people during COVID time, you can see that, for example, Fashion Nova fell, Nike fell, but nobody actually had that much idea during COVID time that, well, people are actually taking money and doing lots of home improvement. So Home Depot, where you could do this, you can see their sales actually went up so much. And this is exactly looking at the app data on doing the people who are doing more digital transactions. And if you had information about this, you could have predicted things much earlier than before. So that's the overall idea about using nowcasting. I can use for sentiment, social media activities, and so on and so forth. There are other examples of AI using Chat GPT, for example, and give the companies news and then ask them to rank the companies and then potentially buy or sell depending on what's the overall predictions of the chat GPT going to be. So I think I'm almost close to out of the, almost out of time. So I'll stop here. This is my other paper, estimating climate and supply chain disruption risk. And then I'm going to stop here just in case you have any more questions to begin with.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta. That was wonderful. And as you can see, quite a few questions have come in the chat window. But I would request all of you to stick around because uh, we're going to talk a little bit more about what the university has to offer. I can see a few questions which have come up about the programs, financial aid, scholarships, deadlines, etc., which I'm sure Jen will be able to take those up. With that, I would now like to hand over to Jen to start with her presentation and tell us a little bit more about the Johns Hopkins University's Carey School of Business.
All right. Thank you so much for having us today. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jen Howder. I am the Director of Admissions at the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. And I oversee all of our full-time programs. So that includes our full-time MBA and our MBA-aligned dual degrees, as well as our 7 specialized master's programs, which I will talk to you a little bit more about today. The first thing I did want to share is we have a number of staff members actually on a global collaborations team that work with our students outside of the US. So I wanted to pass along the contact information of my colleague Shreyas. He is located in India, so he is primarily the one that works with our students coming from India and that region of the world. He is more than happy to have a phone call or set up a virtual meeting with you. I'll share this slide again at the end of my presentation, but he wanted to pass along his contact information. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us today, but he did want you to know that if at any point during the process you have a question about the programs or the application, please feel free to reach out to him directly. So just to give you a brief introduction about Johns Hopkins and the Carey Business School, the first thing that I wanted to point out is we have had business courses at Johns Hopkins University for over 100 years. It has not always fallen within a formal business school setting. Our business school was not founded until much more recently. So we are a young business school, but business education has been alive and well and thriving at Johns Hopkins for well over 100 years. And we have grown quite substantially in that time. So we now have just over 2,600 students, 118 full-time faculty members. Of that population, about 45% of our students are in a full-time program, and we have 72 countries currently represented within all of our different programs. And one thing we like to share is that we are currently number 16 from the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. And just a couple other key points about Johns Hopkins, particularly our network, is we are the first research university in the United States. And so we are very proud of that tradition. We have 29 Nobel Prize winners that have ties to Johns Hopkins. So that legacy, that tradition of innovating, of research, and that has really helped us grow to where we are now. So we are the number 7 best national universities from US News and World Report, number 14 in terms of global universities. And so you really are joining a very powerful network of not just the Carey alumni, but the 260,000 Johns Hopkins alumni worldwide. So we have 2 different locations. We are primarily based in Baltimore, which is where Johns Hopkins University and the Medical Center was founded. And so our location is, it's not directly with the undergrad campus. It is over in a different neighborhood of Baltimore known as Harbor East, right along Baltimore's waterfront. This is the business district of Baltimore. So we have strategically placed ourselves right in the heart of the business district. And we really do have a long-standing history with the city of Baltimore. Johns Hopkins University and Baltimore are synonymous in many ways. The partnership that we have and the ways that we have grown as the city has grown as well. But in recent years, we saw a need to expand that. And so we recently, just about 2 years ago, opened a brand new building in the heart of the nation's capital. So we now have the Hopkins Bloomberg Center right in Washington, D.C., down the street from the Capitol building on Pennsylvania Avenue. And this is really the opportunity for us to bring together the intersection of business, government, nonprofits, and international organizations, and really just giving all of our students more opportunities for networking, internships, and hands-on experiential learning. So whether you are located in Baltimore or Washington, D.C., many of our students come and go between both cities. They are closely linked together. You can hop on a train and be between the cities in about 45 minutes. So some of our students will do 1 year in Baltimore and 1 year in DC, depending on the program. So lots of different options, but you're definitely able to benefit from both of those cities. And then just to look at how we have structured our programs. We are looking, of course, at what the job market is demanding. And so really this goes back to the Economic Modeling Specialist International report that showed STEM jobs are going to grow at least 13% between 2017 and 2027. So we are towards the tail end of that. I think this has definitely proved to be true. And there are many gaps in terms of talent that we are looking to fill with these different STEM fields. So what we have done and how we have positioned our programs is we have designated several of our programs as STEM programs, which allows you to get a STEM OPT extension. So OPT being the opportunity for you to stay a maximum of 12 months after your full-time program for practical training. But if you are in a STEM designated program, that allows you to have a 24-month extension to that. So ultimately, you're bringing yourselves to 3 years of extra time that you're allowed to stay and work. And so we really have done our best to make sure that many of our options are STEM designated. You'll work with your career coaches, your academic advisors, and they will help you identify those employers that are able to help you take advantage of that STEM OPT designation. So we have a number of programs at Carey. If I give you the whole list, it would not fit on just one slide. So this is just a quick snapshot. We have an MBA program that's offered in a number of different formats. We have our full-time 2-year in-person MBA, which is located in Baltimore. But like I said, you can also take advantage of studying in DC as well. But we have an accelerated version for our Hopkins alumni. We have an executive MBA if you are a little bit further in your career, or if you are looking to continue to work during your MBA, we do have a part-time online flexible MBA format. And then in terms of our Masters of Science degrees, we have 7 different specialized master's programs right now. We offer them in both full and part-time program formats. So you can do these in person, either in Baltimore or DC, or you can do these online on a part-time format. And you'll see that a number of these are designated with that STEM designation. So our MBA is STEM designated, business analytics and artificial intelligence, finance, information systems and artificial intelligence, and marketing are all currently our STEM designated programs. To just give you kind of a brief overview of our full-time MBA program, as I said, this is in person, it's 2 years. The program itself is fully STEM designated, so it does not matter what you are studying within that MBA program, you will have that STEM designation. But you have a number of options for specializations here at Carey. And within the MBA program, there are 2 specializations that you can take advantage of. One is our analytics, leadership, and innovation. And the other, Hopkins being known for the business of health, is our health technology and innovation specialization. We were very excited to be ranked 21 in terms of US-based MBA programs for 2025 by QS. And we've also been noted by Poets and Quants and some other publications just as being a business school to watch. Like I said, we are a young business school, but we really have been making a name for ourselves, particularly in some of our top areas such as healthcare and AI, technology, those types of things. So we're really excited to be here today and share more with you about the school. Another thing that I wanted to mention is our approach to experiential learning. We very much think about our courses and our co-curricular courses not just being based on a mold. We think about what strategies are going to work best for the students, allow you to think creatively, innovate to overcome obstacles. And really the goal is that we want you to graduate with the framework to continue sharpening your approach to leadership, research, client engagement, and communication. So all of our programs are designed in a very scaffolded approach of sequential, intentional skill development to incorporate that real-world experiential problem-based learning. So with the MBA program, this is a great example. We actually won an award back in 2021 when we redid our MBA curriculum for the Innovator Award of Excellence. This slide just captures some of the top experiential learning classes in the MBA program. One being big data consulting. This really is an opportunity for you to be given a data set by one of our partner companies. We have worked with McCormick Spices over the past few years. They allow us to take all of their actual data so the students can practice interpreting the data sets, using that data to come up with business strategies. And that leads into the full-time MBA capstone project, which is the Innovation Field Project. And again, this is an opportunity for our students to get directly out into the field, working with a small group as a consultant and helping, a globally known company with a business problem to solve. And then in terms of our full-time specialized master's programs, like I said, we have 7 different programs that we offer, but we do offer them in a number of different formats as well. So there are some different options that you can take, particularly when it comes to our finance program, can be taken in 3 different formats. So you can do that as a 9-month, a 12-month, or a 15-month option. Much of the curriculum remains the same, but it really boils down to what else you're getting out of that experience. With the 15-month option, that does allow you some time to stay and then do an internship. Excuse me. So just think about that in terms of not only which degree you might want to pursue, but it's also important that as you are starting your application process, you are thinking about the timing as well and the length of your program. And this gives you an overview of the curriculum structure for the full-time MS programs. All of the curriculums, whether it's a 9-month program or a 15-month program, are all going to follow this format, starting you at the business foundations, excuse me, moving you into the functional core. And then all of our students are always going to have the opportunity to go through some different electives. And this is really your opportunity to customize your program and explore some areas of interest. I'm so sorry. And then we do take our experiential learning outside of the classroom as well. These are some examples of industry treks. So one of the pictures there is our real estate program up in New York City doing a tour of various companies in New York. You see finance, consulting with Microsoft and Amazon. And then our marketing program goes to Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is known for their chocolate, and they get to take on the role of brand strategy for the day, and they actually get to make their own chocolate bars. So in terms of our career support services, I just want to briefly mention that we have two different sides to our career support. One is known as career and life design, which, as the name suggests, it's really a holistic approach to not only your job search, but really where you want to go next in life. So we are working with coaches to help you develop your full professional and leadership potential. And they'll partner closely with the other side of the house, which is the employer relations team. Those are the folks that are going out and working with the employers, our alumni, the community, getting those partnerships in those different areas to really make sure that we always have the best opportunities lined up for our students. And as you can see from this slide here, we have a number of partnerships. These are some of the top companies that we've worked with in the past few years. And then in terms of the student experience, we want you to make the most of your time here. So when you're not in the classroom, our students are engaged in a number of different student organizations. We break them down into 3 different categories, but we have industry-focused clubs, regional interest clubs, and special interest clubs. And many of these clubs are responsible for some of our biggest student-led conferences. So something like the Business of Health Conference or the Net Impact Conference, completely student organized and run. They're bringing in speakers from a number of different companies. Some really high profile alumni are coming in. So we really do give a lot of the freedom to our students to help plan and organize those activities. And then just a quick look at some of our co-curricular opportunities. We want to get you out of that classroom. That's not just on a local scale, that is, more globally. We are having you get out. We have leadership development expeditions, so you can go hiking in Norway or kayaking. Something that many of our students take advantage of are the number of sponsored case competitions. Lots of large checks being given out. So this is really an opportunity for you to practice your skills and also get some additional funding. We have our Mint Impact Investing. That's an experiential lab for 6 months that allows you to get some additional practice in impact investing. We have a startup challenge. We have an early stage medical software accelerator program. And then we also go out into the community in a number of ways. So something like our Scope-a-thon, which is a 1-day consulting sprint, or our impact sprint, is really our way of giving back to the community. And a couple of other programs that really just showcase our involvement with the local Baltimore and DC community. And then finally, I want to highlight the number of research centers and initiatives that we have. 2 that I've highlighted here, the Center for Digital Health and Artificial Intelligence. And then we also have the Hopkins Business of Health Initiative. So 2 different ways that you really can get more involved. As a graduate student, you can engage with the research and the operations and the management of those research centers. And then finally, we have the entire Johns Hopkins ecosystem. So while you'll be here and you'll be at Cary as a business student, you will have the opportunity to network and engage with students from any of the schools within Hopkins. So if you want to be working with students from engineering or public health or the med school, they will all be coming together within Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures, also known as JHTV. And this is really our centralized hub for innovation and commercialization, where the entire ecosystem comes together. And there's some different resources within JHTV. For instance, our Center for Entrepreneurship. We have Fast Forward U that moves technologies from startup to marketplace. Again, just a number of ways for you to get involved with that ecosystem. So overall, why should you choose Cary? One, because we have 2 different locations very close to one another, so you have the best of both of those cities. I was speaking with a student the other day and she said, "Oh, 2 cities for the price of one." And I said, that's a really nice way of looking at it, because you can come and go between those 2 cities very easily. It also gives you great proximity to many of the other cities that are along the Northeast corridor in the United States. So if you're looking to go to New York or Boston or any of those other cities, we are nice and centrally located, so you can hop on a train or plane very easily. But really, one of the biggest reasons for why Cary, like I said at the beginning, we are a young business school, but that gives us a lot of freedom in terms of how we are able to innovate, and just, carry on those traditions of the research and innovation, and keep that in mind, as we continue to better society, through business ventures. And so if you're looking to apply, there's a number of different deadlines. These are the deadlines for the full-time MBA. We do them in different rounds. So you are interested in the MBA, you still have round 2 coming up. You can apply by January 7th. We do let our international students know for both the full-time MBA and the full-time MS. We would highly advise you not to apply after round 2, just because of the visa processing time. So take a look at those deadlines for full-time MBA, and then these are our deadlines for specialized masters. So you would have until January 14th for a specialized master's program. And then we do have a very holistic admissions process. So it's not just all about your academics. It's not just one score or one GPA. We really are looking at the applicant as a whole. There's not one portion of your application that's going to make or break you. We're looking to make sure that you are prepared for a business-oriented curriculum. We are looking to make sure that you have relevant experience that you can bring to the classroom, so you can contribute to class discussions, group projects. And then we also want to make sure that you are engaged with the community. So we're looking for students with determination, resilience, passion, and a willingness to go out of their comfort zone. And then finally, we want to make sure that you demonstrate the commitment to the values that we hold very near and dear to us. So that is relentless advancement, boundless curiosity, unwavering humanity, and collaborative leadership. So we want to make sure that you have a genuine desire to create lasting commercial and societal value. So these are the application requirements. Our website does a great job of going through these step by step. The QR code there takes you to a number of video tutorials that walk you through the application step by step. We do some webinars of application tip sessions, whether you're for the MBA or for the full-time MS. We have sessions dedicated strictly to that. And then I know that this is a very important part of the consideration for graduate school is the funding piece. So at the top of the slide, you see the current rates for both our full-time MS programs and the full-time MBA program. All of our applicants are automatically considered for scholarship funding at the same time we make your decision. So as an admissions committee, we really have a 2-step process. First being deciding who we're going to admit to the class. And once we have that list, then we're going back and we're determining how much we can award those students. The majority of our funding is merit-based funding through a dean's scholarship. So that's the primary scholarship that we award. For a full-time program, that can range anywhere from about $20,000 per year to full tuition. Part-time is definitely a bit less because our students are typically still working full-time if they are doing a part-time program. So that range is going to be a bit lower. But then there are a number of other resources that you can take advantage of. We have endowed scholarships. There's other organizations that we work with, such as the Forte Foundation or Reaching Out MBA. Those are scholarships that you can apply for separately. All of these are listed on our website. And then you also do have the opportunity for federal financial aid as well, and some graduate student loans. So I know that's a lot of information. This website has a number of different ways of how you can connect with us. We're always offering different webinars. So we have webinars on each of our different specialized master's programs and the MBA. We're also, like I said, out on the road quite a bit. We do have representatives around the globe. So if you go to our website, we may be coming to an area near you soon. I know my colleagues will be in India in both December and January for some different events. But if you want to do a virtual tour of the campus, that's online. Our CARE ambassadors, both current students and alumni, you can connect directly with them. And our blog post gives you a number of stories about what's been going on in the Cary community and also provides some helpful, tips and tricks to the application as well. So I'll stop there and open it up for questions and turn it over back to Sahat.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. That was super helpful. Um, I'm sure students have taken away a lot of information. I've also dropped Shreyas's contact details in the chat window, so students have access to that. And I know we have run slightly over time, but I'm going to take a few questions before I let Dr. Gupta and Jen go. So, Dr. Gupta, I would like to start with you. There is a question in the audience from someone who wants to know, for someone who comes from a typical finance background, what is it that Carrie does in order to sort of ensure that, help them with the learning curve, so to speak, that they have the required prerequisites, etc., to get familiar with the AI background before they step into the job market?
Right. No, that's very important and pertinent questions I'm sure everybody has. And I saw many of you ask similar questions. So as Jen said, we have three different finance programs. We have MS finance programs, 9-month, 12-month, and 15-month. The curriculum of all of them are designed in such a way it has been out there for a long period of time, especially the 12-month program. And we have designed it in such a way with a huge focus of data science and quant in mind. So so our terms are for MS Finance. I'm talking about the terms are divided into 8 weeks a term. So every 8 weeks you have a term, and you start with your basic introductions to corporate finance and investment classes in the beginning week. Then you get into data science classes in linear econometrics in finance and computational finance, where you are also exposed to Python, and you do a lot of that. And then you take a more empirical, for example, I teach the empirical finance class, which is a lot of applications of the finance theories that you have learned with the real world data, and the AI in finance class that I also teach that class, which we are getting exposed to in the second semester in spring. And then if you are in the 15-month program, you have the advantage of the summer internship if you choose to and get in there. And then you can also take potential classes, elective classes in the following the fall. So the combination kind of starts with the core concepts in finance, which whatever finance backgrounds you have, and then it builds all the other techniques and requirements that you do need. Having said that, I said that before, but I also want to say that there are quite a few practicum that we do. One of them is, of course, this empirical finance class, which I teach, where I use lots of data sets, real world, and you actually apply the theories. So it's a hands-on class. People write projects. One of the paper I showed you was written by one of the co-authored with one of the students from that class. I did place some of the students for example, after who wants to do PhD with that particular person who went to do PhD in Chicago. Someone this year, someone is going to do PhD in Boston. And then who wants to go to the job market. People have been working in JP Morgan and other places at the top financial institutions. On top of that, Kerry has a very strong practicum, which is in the Students Managed Investment Fund, where you actually manage real money. And we have been doing thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So a donor has given us a certain amount of money. We build that up. That fund is completely managed. It's a discretionary fund. It's more like a hedge fund. It has some restrictions being out of the university on what you can trade, but otherwise it is, despite those restrictions, it is beating the market over the last 2 years. And the students, both from MBAs as well as MS in finance, work together across 3 different campuses, actually, from Washington, D.C. as well as in Baltimore, and that gives them an unique opportunity to put it on their CV. Not only that they actually managed a fund, real money, along with the fact that you do so many projects with real world data sets. So I hope that kind of summarizes things. One requirement is, as I did see, and if I may add, I did
Sure.
see one question that what do you want to do before coming in? And if you want to add something to it, so one of the things I used to tell when I was the director of the quant finance program that well, you should have a little bit of math and some coding, right? And then people ask me, what kind of coding do I need to know? Should I do R? Should I do Java? Should I do C++ or Python? And of course, the industry kind of moved towards Python over time. Previously, that was the kind of language used to ask. These days, I actually answer the question that the only language you should know to do coding is English, because you can actually use ChatGPT to do the coding and debugging for you. An MS in Finance program is not a coding class. It's how you use the Python and others, and we'll be teaching you that. So I give you the codes, and throughout the process, you actually train yourself such that you know how to use those codes and then apply those to finance. So that's the key required part. So if you want to get yourself trained before even coming here, so use some of these things, but we are going to give you enough and keep you busy once you are here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta. That was really insightful and has sort of answered quite a few questions that had come in the chat window regarding this. Jen, I'm going to bring you into the next one. There's someone who's asked about what are the opportunities that Indian students can have to, let's say, connect with your alumni who or current students to know more about the programs, etc. And also, let's say for someone who comes onto the network, comes into the Carry family as such. What are the support networks that you offer international students so that, like I mentioned before, they can hit the ground running from the get go, they're future ready, job ready by the time they graduate?
Sure. So as I showed on my last slide, we do have the opportunity to connect with a number of Carry ambassadors that are broken down for both alumni and current students. So that is offered directly through our website. You can go online, you can check who you might want to connect with based on your interests or based on where you might be coming from and connect with them that way. I also know that all of our alumni and our current students are always happy, even if you just reach out to them on LinkedIn. They are very, very happy to talk more about their story and help in any way that they might be able to during that process. And then, pardon, sorry, your second question was about support system.
Support system for international students who come onto campus.
So from the very, very beginning, once you're admitted, we have a number of different webinars leading up this spring before you would be even, traveling to the United States to get you set with anything that you might need. So from, banking tips to transportation to helping you find housing, we have a whole series of webinars. We actually have our office is split into two teams. So we have one team that does the recruitment and reads all the files and admits our students, and then we have another whole set of team members that are working with you as you make that transition. So that's entirely their job, making sure that you're prepared for getting here to Carry. And that continues once you get here. We start you off. There is a separate orientation for our international students, but just a number of resources with our student affairs office for you to connect. You will always have access to not only a program advisor, but an academic advisor. You have a career coach. So you have a whole team of people that are working with you from all different aspects.
Great. So you have your entire team ready for you. Just make sure you get in touch with them from day one. Do not wait till the last minute as such. Yes, Dr. Gupta.
Yeah, sorry. I see a question which just came up on the probably the last, which is for an engineering background student, is it possible to learn finance and data science under the MS in Finance course? So the answer is actually yes. And just to give an example, many of the finance techies who actually work in the Wall Street, they are actually from various engineering backgrounds. Many of the finance professors, including at Curry, actually have a strong engineering background, like from IITs and other places in India. So that actually helps you build the foundations that you need. And even if you do not need know much of finance, it kind of that's what we train you to begin with, right? So this is where, and we do not call it data science or AI separately in MS Finance program, because in MS Finance you have been doing that for last 15 years or so. And it's a very strong data science oriented program to begin with. It is probably one of the largest program in the country too. And so if you are coming from a tech background, there are plenty of them in the current batches, as well as across the US in the industry, who has the engineering background and who wants to switch to finance. Many of them are my current students, RAs, as well as past students. So you will be in a good spot.
Great spot. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rohan. We hope that answers your question. Dr. Gupta, I'm going to stay with you and take up another question which has come up about uh, from Tushar, who says, with so much automation, where do you still see the human touch being essential in finance? And to sort of broaden this question, uh, you also started your presentation, your masterclass with this, that a lot of us have this question in our head that where are our jobs going to be? What are we going to do? So, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. And this is, again, a major concern across many of the students. And as I said, that finance data is different than other data is in other fields, because before the data signal and the data comes to you, to AI, we work on it. So there are so many people with different kind of agendas, different kind of objectives, smart, irrational, rational, institutions, individuals, they all work on that data, that signal. And then the data you get to see is the trade data, which means you need to have an understanding of the foundations of finance. And if you want to talk about human touch, so we know a lot about that. How does the market work? Otherwise, everybody in the market would have been a techie, right? So it's not that, because understanding of the financial market is so crucial, and how does the foundations work? So bringing these two together, and that's what's the role of us comes in, and as a finance professionals. So if you can successfully combine and showcase that to the rest of the world, that yes, and the rest of the world is smart enough. They understand that this is not AIs cannot blindly be applied. So just to give an example, the nowcasting model that I just presented, there was a part of the model where I actually applied the AI model blindly. And it turned out it actually failed very badly in the real data. Why? Because many of this alternative data that we worked on came in various different frequencies. Something was daily, something was monthly, something was quarterly. And if you put all of them together, the daily data is changing every day. The monthly data is changing only 30 days in a month, right? Which means it kind of became stale, and you thought there is no signal in the data. But if you use your finance knowledge to model it accordingly. And when I changed that, and that's what gave me much results, that yes, this model should be weighted differently than this one. And that's why your foundational understanding of the finance is so important, and showcasing these two together. So AI is here to stay, as I said from the very beginning. Better use AI in the intelligent way to apply to finance. So for which you need to understand the finance market. This combination, that key, that synergy, is how best you could show. And in the MS Finance program, that's what we teach you. That's going to be your key to be in the next job market. Not just building just a chatbot. That's great too, but there is something beyond if you really want to be trained well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta. A lot of similar questions on similar lines. But I hope you all have got it. Just my last question before I end the masterclass for today. I know we've shot overtime. Jen, this one is for you. Someone wants to know, what are the online or distant learning options that John Hopkins offers international students, your online programs?
Sure. So as I mentioned, all of our programs are offered in a part-time online format. So you can do these at your own pace. So our full-time MS programs, for instance, which are typically about a year, they can be done in about as little as 15 months when you're doing it at a part-time online pace. The nice thing about those programs are that we offer it both synchronous and asynchronous. So you have the choice in how you are selecting your classes, whether you're viewing them live and able to participate with the faculty and the students, or if you are viewing a recording of the class. So we have a lot of different options there for our global students.
And just to top on to that, one last thing, is the admissions process similar to how it is for a full-time or a part-time program in person, or is it slightly different?
It's very similar. There's a couple of different requirements that are a little bit different. One being that you don't need to do the interview process. But for the most part, the application process is very much the same.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. We hope that answers your question. So thank you so much, everyone. Firstly, thank you to Jen and Dr. Gupta for joining us for this wonderful session. It was lovely to have you, and I'm sure all of the students have benefited a lot. We still have around 120 students who've stayed back. We will be sharing the recording with all of the students as well, so they can go back and access it. And we hope you enjoyed the session as much as we did. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Gupta and Jen. I look forward to connecting with you again. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Bye.
much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.